Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our SoCal Hockey Hotline podcast. I'm Dave Walker here, hockey manager at Great Park Ice, with the rest of our hockey managers here, John Mainberger, Dean Wilson, Vince Vias. This week's episode 7, we've got a special guest. We've got our Great Park Ice general manager, Eddie Hawkins, here to answer a few of our questions and give a little bit more insight for our customers and viewers on what it takes on a day-to-day basis to run and operate a facility like Great Park Ice and FivePoint Arena. So, Eddie, welcome to the podcast.
Woo! Thanks
Big intro.
Yeah. So Eddie, we kind of figured out born in Kansas, but raised in New Hampshire. Grew up playing some youth hockey, a goaltender at that. As you were being raised in New Hampshire, did you ever cross your mind that you'd be GM of a facility in California and now going through the COVID-19 kind of situation that we're dealing with right now?
I would say one part of that I probably anticipated. It was the California part.
The weather.
Yeah. Every winter in New Hampshire, I envisioned being in Florida or California as an adult. So that part, yeah. But I probably, as a youngster growing up, probably anticipated, being a starting goalie for the Boston Bruins or something that else unrealistic. So, but yeah, once I realized that wasn't going to happen, then I focused kind of on working in the hockey industry in some capacity. And, and here we are, and on my first podcast with a bunch of big shots here. So happy.
You made it.
Exactly.
That's the first time I heard big shot, but I'll take
37 years and I'm here. So
yeah.
Check it off, baby. That's it.
Let's get one thing clear here. Eddie and I, huge fans, both share the same love and passion for our New England Patriots. So let's ask you right now, what are your thoughts on Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay? Because I know my feeling about it, but what's yours?
I'm happy that there's a chance we get to play him in the Super Bowl. I'll just leave it at that, because him being on an NFC team makes me a little more happy than an AFC team. But, in Bill we trust, so I'm good. I'm ready to –
Bill we trust.
I can hear quarterback.
I like it.
I look at it from, like I said, there's not a single player in the league that I would trade for Bill Belichick. And eventually we're going to have to retool and rebuild, because whether it's this year, next year, or in 2 years' time. So I'm not too upset, because they've shown that they've got the ability to rebuild and rebuild quick. So
yeah, were you championships? So
were you guys surprised with Gronk coming back?
Yeah, that one surprised me that it was so quick. Yeah.
I was kind of shocked too. I was like, oh, maybe they got one more go at it.
4th round pick though, I'll take that. Whatever they got.
4th round for somebody that wasn't even playing the year before. That's
WWF 24/7 champion.
So let's get back to our hockey here. So you grew up playing goaltender. What drew you to goaltending over playing out?
Being the biggest kid in my team, on my team and in class, probably. So
strategy.
That's how it worked back in
probably
1987 or 88 when I first started playing. Like, it was called instructionals where I lived. That's what I think I was 5 or 6, and then by year 2 of instructionals, they rotate, kind of like we do now, but they rotate the goalie through, and everybody does once, and then after once, they ask for people who want to do it again. And there was like 3 of us that wanted to do it a second time, and then they go again, and then I was the only one that wanted to do it the 3rd or 4th time. So then I was a goalie, and just like
by default.
Yeah, I liked the pads, liked the helmet, liked the cool Eddie Balfour helmets from back in the day, and just kind of stuck, and then started taking it a little more seriously, not too seriously. But
I played goal when I was younger, and I thought, I was like, this is great. I just laid on the ice. Kids couldn't lift the puck, but as soon as kids start lifting the puck, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, I didn't like helmet shots
anymore. Yeah. I
had a Jaffa Kelly Rudy with the neck guard, because I did not like getting hit in the side of the head.
Yeah.
Who's your idol growing up, Eddie? Was it a goalie or was it a player?
It was a player. I would say Andy Moog probably was the goalie when, during my generation, they was like right after
Reggie Lemelin.
Yeah, I think it was like Reggie Lemelin switching into Andy Moog, and then he backed him up. So like the late 80s, early 90s Bruins, probably Cam Neely, Andy Moog, Ray Bork. That's what really got me into pro hockey. Got to catch one game at the Old Garden, which was nice. One game, I think, maybe two at the Hartford. I forget the name of it now, but the Whalers Stadium. I think it was the Odd. No, not the Odd. That was Buffalo. But the Whalers Stadium, it was a nice little rivalry, Boston and Hartford, for a couple years before they moved. But
we've asked you a
Nice.
few times, you've been here for a little bit while now. What's going to take you to get you back in the pads and back on the ice? Dave Walker, he did one game out there, so I think everyone at least has one game in him.
yeah. I don't know. I would say something to the severity of like a whole pandemic, but no.
We're almost there.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's been a while. I think I suited up for like a like an employee game a couple, 4 or 5 years ago, my last building before I came out west, but kind of hung them up. I don't mind skating out once in a while and getting on the ice, but goalie is one where I feel for men's league goalies, because everybody asks me that same question. I know I've told you this before, John. Like, for me to play goalie somewhat decent, I have to take it kind of seriously. So I can't have a couple beers.
Yeah.
So if I do not take it seriously, then I'm awful. And then even though everybody says don't worry about it, goalie is the one person who does, because nobody wants to play with their buddy who, lets an 8 right off the bat. So
That might be a win-win. You go in, you play the one game, you do awful, you don't get the call back either way, so you don't have to come back to the next week.
And everybody stops bugging me about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good point that you brought up, about other facilities when you were playing the last time you played. So I guess, we all know you've worked at different facilities across the country. Kind of touch upon how and where you kind of started in terms of, the GM facility and operating facilities to where you are now in California, and how that kind of road kind of was developed for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll keep it pretty brief here. There's a lot of stops along the way, but I made a joke about it earlier, but realistically was, at a point when I realized playing or being coached or being a coaching level wasn't an option. And then I realized I graduated high school around 2001, so sports management was kind of a new major. So went to Merrimack College my freshman year, and then Daniel Webster College, a small school for the Final Three that's now closed down, but to do sport management. And then I got an internship with Philadelphia Flyers, my most, hated team growing up.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, exactly. I worked at UMass Lowell as an intern. They had a D1 program, still do, I believe, but and the athletic director knew the marketing, where I used to work for the Flyers, so it just kind of helped bridge that gap. I applied for an internship in marketing of all things, and did an internship the last half of my senior year, stayed down there full-time after, and got a job in community relations, and then they have a very similar structure to us with the skate zones, which is like our Rinks program. So I jumped over to the skate zone side of things to do marketing before I went back to the team to do publicity. And I just had like a 1-year window where I worked for the skate zone part of the company, even though it was in marketing. And it just I realized that's more where I wanted to be, was a little closer to the actual hockey product, not so much working in a administrative office for a team in sales or marketing. So I kind of just kept that in the back of my head for a year or so with the Flyers. And then a company named Cameron Ice Sports bought a rink in Vineland, New Jersey, halfway between Philly and Atlantic City, and just applied for a position there. And just kind of had some ironic, lucky for me, but some lucky timing where the positions opened up. Shortly after going on as sales manager, the general manager moved on and moved up. So I moved up to general manager in New Jersey. And I think because I was single and the only one willing to move anywhere in the U.S., that moved me, every time we buy a building, I would be, interested in the next kind of step up. So I went from a 2-sheet facility in Vineland, New Jersey. Ironically enough, our biggest competitor was Hollydale, which is run by Guy Goudreau, which is Johnny's dad. So he was, I think, in 9th or 10th grade when I was there, playing for Gloucester Catholic. It was like our biggest rivalry for St. Augustine Prep, which was in our building. So it's kind of neat to see, 10 years later now, or 15 years later, his son is an all-star and his other son, to that level. But then we purchased a building in Chicago, a three-rink facility in Romeoville. Went on to take that position. And then Fort Wayne, Indiana, we built a new building when I was with the company in a sport field house. So like basketball, volleyball, they had some AstroTurf, some indoor golf. So managed those two facilities, and then, stayed with that company for almost 10 years, which was until about 2016. And the position at Anaheim Ice opened up, and I was kind of on the lookout for something different, a permanent home. I moved around a lot with my previous company because I could, and I was ready to, at the ripe old age of 33 or so, to find a place to settle down and somewhere warm, to my comment earlier. And it just happened to the timing worked out right.
I think it leads to a good question for me is, coming to Anaheim, were there any talks about the Great Park facility? Was that even an option, or did you even know anything about that?
I knew about I think at the time they hadn't finalized the location yet, but officially, but I had known the Ducks were about to build a facility to this stature. There was no talks with, the Ducks on it or Art or anybody, but I was aware that in the future the Rinks would continue to grow, and that's the biggest piece. Not Great Park necessarily, but the fact the growth that the Rinks has experienced well before I came out here. It was already on my radar. I had been with a similar company, so the chance to come out here with the opportunity for future growth is plus the weather.
Yeah, right. So the second part of that question is, once you did hear about the Great Park, what excited you about the possible opportunity, and what made you want to put your name in the hat to possibly become the GM over at that facility?
Yeah, once it was a no-brainer for me. Once it got finalized and a location was chosen and kind of got along those lines, I had already been here for a little while and knew this is where, a company where I wanted to stay for a long time. And it was just the uniqueness of the facility was probably the biggest thing. Obviously size and stature in terms of, our fancy things here, like the beach and the restaurants and things like that are awesome. But the fact that it's a community-based rink, from everything we do, obviously right now, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but, during this craziness, we're able to turn one rink into a food bank storage. So the ability for our company to let us do things like that. And just the fact that it was a public-private partnership, there was no tax dollars in terms of the way it was funded, it being a nonprofit, and really obviously the ability to have a 4-sheet facility to this size and do the things that we've already done and have on the horizon. It was a lot of things on the checklist,
right. A couple
did it, but how unique it was really what was for me. Because even if somebody will pass us, right, like there'll be a bigger facility, there'll be better facilities built, but this one will still be very special and unique because of the way it was funded, the way it was created, our ownership group, the way the team is tied to this building, the staff we have, and the ability to, for me, help be a part of molding something from the ground up that was already started, obviously, well before I got here, but the ability to work with the team that we put together here from the ground up was something I thought I would never have the opportunity again. And I know that I would never have an opportunity like this again. So it's an easy decision for me to throw my name in the hat.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, Eddie, like you were talking about earlier, kind of where the building is kind of setting the foundation for possible other buildings or companies that are making. My question is, have other companies come out and reached out to you regarding, hey, can we tour your facility? Because we're looking at, building ours somewhere else. So, yeah,
there's been a couple. I think St. Louis just opened theirs, I believe, halfway through last season, I think. The exact date, I'm not sure. But I know they had been out a few times with Art, and I think Art had gone out there. We've met with the Seattle group a few times. Art does a lot more of this than myself, obviously. But the Seattle group's been down a couple times to look at the building. This is well before, obviously, the pandemic. And the one thing about this group of, or the group of NHL facilities is it's a very tight network. So the vice presidents of each organization that has facilities like ours, so the Predators, us, the Sharks, the Flyers, get together once a year, whether it be virtually or in person, and kind of hammer out some best practices. And the ironic thing is, during times like this, it's a huge help and a huge asset. We're all sharing resources to try to move towards, the common goal of reopening at some point and phasing in. So instead of recreating the wheel, it allows us to kind of leverage those opportunities and share best practices and get kind of the same thing going.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess along those lines, how, with what we're dealing with now with the COVID-19, how is your day-to-day been affected or changed from prior to the COVID-19?
First one would probably be, a few extra pounds, like everybody.
A couple more Zoom calls.
Yeah, Zoom meetings, Teams meetings. From a day-to-day for me, obviously a lot's changed in terms of where my day-to-day stuff has. Today I'm at the rink, a couple days a week here at the rink, mostly from home like everybody. And really just the hardest part for me, even the day-to-day change, has been it's continuously changing and continuously evolving. So we'll move forward on kind of some plan A, plan B, plan C for what may happen. And then what might happen might be totally different. The stay-at-home orders may come longer or shorter. So it's just constantly evolving, which, is for everybody in every walk of life. But I'd say the biggest challenge during this time is, just trying to stay connected with my team here and us as a company, obviously, like this are great. As David knows, I try to have a call once a week with our management team. Our assistant manager, or some of our assistant managers, and our manager Holly have put together things like virtual happy hours and stuff. Our staff engaged, obviously, and others doing great things with contests for our staff. And really, the focus has gone from. The focus has always been communication in a building this size, but now it's the focus in a different way. It's more reaching out to, everybody. 66 days or however long it's been is a long time, and there's still more to come. So. It's really just trying to put that hat on first, instead of like the old days. It was put on the operational hat first and kind of rely on the personal side of it kind of in combination with, whereas now there's no operations. So the most important thing is our people and making sure they're safe and comfortable and checking in with them. So that's how it's shifted a little bit, not necessarily changed, but kind of how it's weighted, how we spend our time and preparation. Obviously now we're just full steam ahead in terms of preparing for different scenarios. So, and hopefully one of them happens is the exact one. We know it won't be, but hopefully it's close to one of the scenarios we prepared for in terms of timing and dates. And then we have less to do at a later date and hopefully open up, even sooner.
I think during these times, there's been a lot of out of the box thinking, and using innovation is going to be a key to all our success and growth. What ways do you think that we can, get ahead of that? And has there been any talks of, obviously we have virtual training and this virtual environment, kind of a platform. Obviously we have a podcast. Is there anything been talked about facility wide that we might have to kind of look into to be successful in our growth or continue growth?
Yeah, I think, I think the easiest way to sum it up is pretty much everything's being looked at, right? There's no, from top down here, it's, hey, share your ideas. I know that's one thing I share with my team on our calls is, the management team is working on different scenarios, different ideas, but there's no way we're going to guess all of them. And it's okay if the answer is we don't know on certain things, but really just relying on everybody to kind of submit those best practices and thoughts and suggestions. But, I think our company, we were right away, how quickly you guys got together, came up with, a nice logo and nice intro music and all that stuff, and hockey, the skating tips in the home. So, the fact that we were able to pivot so quickly, and by no means is it pivoting to something that's equal to what we did before. We all know that. But the fact that, I was checking the Instagram stories today and saw one of our skating coaches, Jackie Schaefer, and there was 40 people, it looked like, on her Zoom thing, and she's doing a class from home with a rink virtual background. And, 3 months ago, I never would have thought that's something that, I'd see tots from our huge learn to skate program doing, in their living room on my Instagram, being the only person in a 300,000 square foot building. So it's just kind of constantly evolving. Yeah.
I think and I actually think the company as
waiting for a comment from Walker and John. Where's the comment after? He didn't think he would ever see that. I was waiting for a comment from you guys.
Oh, your mic works? Dean, your mic works?
Yeah. Just figure I'd throw that in there, give you guys a window.
What I was going to say is that I actually think from a whole, not just a Great Park standpoint, but the company standpoint, they've done a really good job. Like every week we get those updates or the little, post your vacation photo, post your, graduation or senior year photo.
Yours look good, Eddie. Like that there, bud.
Was
that puka shells?
Yeah, puka shells, friendship bracelet, corduroy cargos. That's
right. Just wanted to make sure you're dialed in.
Yeah, there's a lot of Dave Matthews Band in late 90s.
Yeah. And I think it's great. Like we have those, I guess it'd be the little questionnaires or the trivia ones they surveys, the stuff they send out, that stuff's really cool. Like a lot of that stuff helps us all stay engaged. And from every department, there's a little bit of virtual stuff going on. And I think it's helped us because it's helped us help us hockey managers generate ideas and concepts of what we can do. So I think it's all of you guys, the GMs, have done a good job of really, growing the virtual stuff, and I know we appreciate it.
I think things just go back to community, right? Like in all of our podcasts, we just talked about like the hockey community in California, and it's pretty close. Did you think the community coming out here? I know you've been in a bunch of different facilities, and a lot of the states are really, hockey-driven communities. When you came out to California, did you think that the community as a whole would be how it is and how close it really is out here?
Kind of. I mean, it's funny because one thing that brought me out here, I think I mentioned before, was, or if I didn't, was kind of the fact that I knew the hockey market and the skating and the ice market in Southern California in particular was booming, but I didn't know it was to the level it is. So yeah, I wasn't surprised in terms of the size of it. I kind of was prepared, and that's part of what drew me to this area was the growth opportunities of the sports we love and obviously future facilities and the organization. But having that, expectation, but then coming out here and having it blow my expectation out of the water. And then obviously, especially since the start of this facility and how busy we've been and the things we've been able to do and attract some of the outside users, like a Harvard versus Arizona State game.
Huge.
So that's a great example of, I came out here knowing the hockey market was huge and growing, but then to see, after opening this building and be a part of something in a few months where, Art has, the Junior Ducks have, the 2 or 3 draft picks in 1 year. And, this building has the numbers it does. And we sell out Ducks versus Kings in the preseason. And then also 2 Arizona State versus Harvard games. First time, I think it was 2000 or something, the last time D1 hockey was here. So yeah, I guess yes and no. I came out here because I knew there was a market on the horizon and it was one of the bigger markets. A lot of people don't. But it still surprised me, and it still continues to surprise me with how quick it's evolving. And I think I might be biased, but in terms of how aggressive all the organizations out here have been with the virtual hockeys, the hockey at homes, things like podcasts, even some of the smaller rinks, I get all their emails and I see they're doing very similar things, and the privately owned rinks out here. So I don't know if it's just a California thing with the outdoors and the weather, but it seems like a lot of buildings and organizations out here are aligned with a common goal to grow the sport. And it's not like that in every district. It's like that in a lot of them, but it's not like that in all of them. So it's a great thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely think that Harvard ASU, I think obviously was a slam dunk from a standpoint of looking at the attendance and the games themselves. But I think it was a slam dunk for the kids. You look at Junior Ducks kids, Lady Ducks kids, high school, OC kids, all the local youth hockey kids, to be able to see that locally, to see that kind of hockey, that skill level, gives them a little bit more of a push if that's what they ultimately want to do. And seeing it in your backyard, I mean, that's great. I think that was a great thing, great job that Great Park and the Ducks put on. I thought it was great. The quality was unbelievable, and
I mean,
we can get that stuff is good.
Did you even think that 4,000 people theoretically in 2 days would come see 2 teams that are not even, California-based teams? We have Harvard and Arizona, and if you were there, which a lot of us were, it was just a great environment to be in,
Yeah, I definitely didn't think, I'd hoped for sure, obviously,
right?
business standpoint, but hockey in the Northeast is huge, and the bean pot, I would take off, I'll say every Monday, but in high school for sure, when I could drive, every Pop Monday, the first 2 Mondays in February, I would take off from school and go to the Fleet Center and watch, the 4 Boston schools, a lot of UNH games, a lot of UMaine games, a lot of Harvard games. But out here, it's not something that really exists yet. We hope it continues to grow. But to have Harvard come out, who is a great school and an institution and has a huge following, but, total opposite corner of the country, and
Right.
State, who's had a program for about, 5 minutes, they have a huge following too, and are building a facility to see it grow to the level it did and have us sell out one game and virtually sell out the other with standing room only was above our expectations for sure.
I think it leads to like a secondary question would be, seeing the level of people that came, the investment level of just coming to see two teams. What has that brought into? Has anything kind of sparked out of that, knowing that we have a facility that can kind of hold that type of attendance, and then B, people are looking to look at higher level hockey, maybe not on an NHL level, but maybe elaborate on this.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think after that we got a lot of inquiries for sure, and this facility was set up to hopefully host that Rink 4 arena for us. Is an ideal, I think, an ideal arena for a D1 college, D3 college, minor team, junior hockey franchise. It's the perfect setup in terms of the number of spectators, and obviously this pandemic and the crisis we're in changes things for forever probably, but in terms of how we do things, but in terms of us, the facility, yeah, I mean, that was always something we had hoped, and I like to think that when they designed the facility, that was part of why they, designed FivePoint Arena the way they did. But yeah, there was some talks of some hopeful future. I think it's a no-brainer that we'll have some more college hockey here, and hopefully down the road some NCAA tenants. As you guys know, we do have Cal State Fullerton and UCI that play out of here. They're club hockey, I believe D2, but you guys would know more. But so even that on its own, being ACHA, not NCAA, has drawn interest. And I know their numbers went up. UCI, this is the first time they've had a program, I think, in a number of years. I think they used to a while back. But so hopefully that continues to drive that, spark the energy for NCAA hockey out here.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. I think it was also cool is, what was it, the Ricci Showcase that you guys had, right? With Vegas, Sharks, that was an awesome experience as well, right? Same thing, kind of what Walks was talking about, all the youth that was coming around, watching all the future pro hockey players that are playing.
One of the takeaways with that's always interesting when you're walking around the facility and you don't always kind of mix and mingle with the new up and comers. You're walking around, you're like, who the heck is that young kid? You're like, oh, okay, so yeah, he's playing. They look like little babies.
They look younger than your kids, and they're playing in a rookie showcase.
Yeah. No, that's great. And even, we even had the U.S. Olympic women's team that practiced a couple times before they went to Honda Center to play, and seeing some of the Lady Ducks come and watch practice, and they even went on the ice with some of the Lady Ducks teams. There's just been so much that has come through there that I think has helped benefit all of the youth.
And we've tried to really focus on all segments, right? So as you guys know, Jesse and our marketing group, and what you guys do with the disabled segments as well. We hosted the U.S. Paralympic sled team. They had it's called a training camp, but a camp last fall. This fall we have a sled classic, the NHL Sled Classic. We've had a few sled events here with the San Diego Ducks, and obviously women's hockey. We were a big focal point of the Women's Hockey Week with the Ducks and the rivalry series, and Team USA made this their site for the training camp for that. So in a short time, and if you take away the last 2 months of COVID related being closed, we've been open for 14 months or so, and the number of things from a hockey and also a figure skating standpoint. I know this is a hockey podcast, but big, we could easily do a skating podcast for Great Park Ice and the Olympic skating we have here. It's been a whirlwind for sure of events and things that we had hoped for, but the diversity of the things we've offered has been probably the thing we're most proud of. And I know David is a part of the team here too, and just the ability to be able to offer those different things from not just hockey, but also skating and all the different segments of it. Blind hockey. You guys, the stuff that you guys do in relation to blind hockey, deaf hockey, we've literally almost done it all. So we had international firefighter tournament last summer. We're really trying to spread ourselves out. And of course, curling. I think you guys have all tried it, hopefully, but we have curling here as well. So
I still got to try it. Never tried it.
They always say one of the little models we toss around, a skate on every foot. And we always joke that, it sounds kind of cheesy, let's be honest. But the reality is it is true. Like if you want to play ice sports, there's something for you. So you, at any age level, at any capacity, if you want to do it, there's something with that in one of our facilities. And obviously Great Park has a big part of that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome.
It gives us the ability to get people in. We want people to get in here once. I think we're pretty confident in the product we put out here and the people we have for us. And all across our rinks, but, you know, and get them into our buildings once in any capacity, whether it be a guest for a birthday party, public skating, curling, broom ball, where you don't even have, they see the facility and they see the scope of it, have some lunch in the restaurant, and hopefully they're back in some capacity with, you know, with the rest of their family or friends.
Back to the facility, a question for you. You know, you're looking at Great Park as a whole and all the stuff that, you know, goes on in the facility, just not the ice hockey, but the curling, grassroots, the skating, you know, bringing events into the facility, the restaurants, the parties. Looking back from where we started when we opened the doors to now, if you had to pick one thing that you're most proud of from a facility standpoint, what would it be?
I would say our, you know, it's probably gonna, you know, sound cheesy, but I would say our team, the team that we put together here. I mean, because all those things you just listed and all of those events I just listed, none of that happens without especially in a facility this size with almost 200 employees, nothing happens without the people. So every piece of it is vitally important. And that's the same, you know, single sheet facility or a multi-sheet facility. But, you know, here with how broad everything, or how many different avenues we have and different things we have to offer, you know, the communication and the ability for us to, again, if we go backwards a couple months, in 14 months, go from ground zero, you know, nothing open, to the business that we were running here a couple months ago, and the number of employees and everybody doing their part, and for the most part having very few hiccups, you know, opening a facility this size. I think just a testament to the couple things, the hiring process. You know, we did a lot in terms of the way we tried to find people, and just, I think us as a company and the organization, it just attracts, you know, the very best in terms of the people we have here. So for sure I would be most proud of the group of people we have here, because there's so many different events. I just listed a bunch of hockey ones and some skating ones, and I know I probably missed some. You know, none of those happen. You know, we never have a 114 team tournament if every piece of the puzzle is not aligned, and communication for us is the biggest piece. Without that, in a facility this size, a small thing becomes an extremely big thing very quickly. So
yeah, I like your question, I like your answer, Eddie. But Walks, is that a little pump up for yourself right there?
Did I read the script right?
Yeah. That's not what I wrote down, Eddie.
That was just an open question, and yeah, I feel pretty good.
Tires are firm.
I was going to ask you, Eddie, some questions about tournaments, but I know we're getting towards the end. But I guess I would say that I guess we're all missing being at the rink for 12, 14 hours a day in a hockey tournament by this point, right? Me coaching, you running it, me coaching, but, you know.
Yeah, there's tournaments where you'd see, you know, even back to Anaheim, Dean and I, you know, Dean probably more so than me, but we both living at the building for holiday weekends.
Oh yeah, I miss that for sure.
Me just babysitting the tournament. Dean, you know, running around coaching 6 different teams and refs and whatnot. But yeah, you know, and that's one thing we're working on now too, is how does the new landscape, both, you know, immediately and obviously hopefully down the road when we get more direction. USA Hockey has released some recommendations. I know they have their Congress, I think, middle of June. So we're kind of waiting on that. But yeah, we here at Great Park, we really hit a rhythm with tournaments, and just as well as Anaheim and other buildings. But, you know, we're really trying to find a way to get back, whether maybe it's 3-on-3 tournaments or local, you know, but we really, you know, there's a need for it even in.
Yeah, everyone's itching. So, we get enough emails. People want to play at whatever capacity that is.
Yeah.
You could have one-on-ones all day and they'd probably be into it.
But we got a goalie. So
Here you go. Yeah.
One, my son or Eddie.
One time.
One plays and one doesn't anymore.
I was talking about Ed, he's my goalie.
John's son.
Yeah. Well, as it is every episode, we've got to that special time, that magic number.
Special moment.
We're going to wrap it up, but we'll wrap it up with one last question. You know, we know you like to hit the links every now and then, Eddie, so we're going to pose the question. You got to pick your perfect foursome. Obviously, you're a part of it, so you got to come up with 3 dead or alive, current athletes, or I guess in your case, maybe mentors in the kind of GM world that maybe you've come across during your work history.
Let's see. That'd be a tough one. I would say if I had a golf foursome.
Yep.
I would say for sure. Dana White. I'm a huge UFC fan, and I think the stories that guy has would probably be amazing.
Who's your number one UFC fighter?
People are probably gonna hate it. Daniel Cormier. He's boring, but I love him. People hate him, but I love him.
Hey, you think he's gonna fight Stipe?
I do,
You think,
and I think he's
it's
gonna
gonna
win,
happen? Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's not a Honda Center. Every time I've been to Honda Center, I've seen my favorite fighter. I got nice, good seats both times. See my favorite fighter get knocked out cold both times. But so yeah, I mean, I would say Dana White. That's a good question. Golf foursome. Tiger Woods, because I need that extra.
I was gonna say, you gonna try to win or are you trying to hang out? Which one?
Yeah, extra stroke. And then what would be a fourth one? I would say somebody historical, like maybe like a John F. Kennedy or somebody.
Oh, there you
Nice.
go. See, you're
Not
going
very
left
much into
field.
politics. But
You're
I'm
a
very
thinker.
much-
You're a thinker. You're going left.
I very
field.
much like that era of like time. Obviously, I wasn't around, despite the not back then, but very intrigued by kind of the politics of that era and what people in this country went through and things. So yeah, a little bit of history there, a little bit of current events, and a little bit of sports.
The cool
It's a
thing
great
about that
foursome.
question is that it's evolving, right? So we hear the different foursomes from the different people we have on the podcast, and you're definitely taking a different direction. So the follow up to the next person, it's going to be they're going to have some things to think about.
And that's a good way to test. It's a good way to test if your guests have been watching, because they would know that question's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
But you know that you haven't been watching our stuff.
I've been watching it till the end. I watched the intro and catch that tune.
Just the
He
music.
watches the intro and turns it off.
So everybody sees I got my click count and everybody sees it, and then
That's great. Well, I want to say thank you, Eddie, for taking a little bit of time to answer some questions, and hopefully our customers and viewers enjoy what you had to say. And like I said, we appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Eddie.
Yeah. Thanks, Eddie.
no, it's
Thanks,
happy to
Eddie.
be on, and it's nice little change of scenery for a half an hour, and obviously we're looking forward to getting back at it and hopefully seeing you guys and everybody who's watching Great Park and our other buildings soon.
Absolutely. And I guess, guys, thanks for another episode, and customers out there, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this. Be prepared for next week. We got a few surprise guests that we're working on right now that we don't want to say anything about, but you'll be really pretty interested to see some of our future guests coming up. So stay tuned for us to release the names of some of these guests. But until then, stay safe.